Hello again, Pastor Greg and Joel. We're continuing on our daily devotions. Yesterday, we talked about Jesus being of the line of David, fulfilling that prophecy, Joel, to be king.
Yes.
And we're going to start where we left off in Luke chapter 2. Yesterday, we saw there was the story of the census and the Holy Family. Off they go to Bethlehem. Let's pick it up from there, Joel. What's happened? What happens next?
So Luke chapter 2 verse 6 to 7 is what we're looking at.
Wonderful.
All right. So while they were there, the time came for the baby to be born.
Yep.
And she gave birth to a firstborn, a son. She wrapped him in cloths and placed him in a manger because there was no guest room available for them.
Mm.
If you reflect on this, all right, so a king, we know Jesus is meant to be a king.
That's
or
right.
Is a king.
He's the king.
There's no guest room at the end, so like a nice, good place, nice warmth. But the next best thing for Jesus to go in was one of these mangers.
And we've got this wonderful little manger that's here, full of hay, like a feed stall would be. And the symbolism is very strong. It's not just humility. Of course it is humility that here's Jesus who comes into the world and he humbles himself, first off to take on human flesh. Secondly, not to be born into a palace, but to be born into a feed stall, right? That's where this is where he's first laid. I think it's also that Jesus was exposed, if you like. He wasn't protected. There was lots of risks. God took an enormous amount of risks coming into the world. Here he was, Jesus, as you know, part of the Godhead, ultimately powerful, and he humbles himself and takes on the form of a human. And he's quite exposed in this situation, exposed to the elements, exposed to everything that's around him, and yet God doesn't shun that. He comes right into the places where we're exposed, where we feel uncomfortable. He comes right into those places that might be the bits that we're trying to hide, or even the bits in our life that are a bit dirty, all right? And there's so much symbolism of Jesus coming in and being born and laying in a manger. And so I really do love this imagery right at the beginning. And it's so well known. There's no nativity scene without a manger, right? Exactly. It's iconic in a way. And it needs to be, because it's an important part of the story. Right?
And even if you take one step back, you go, Jesus was in like embryo form or within the womb.
That's right.
And he was rejected even before he was out in the world.
While he was still unborn, he was rejected. And of course that will be the story of his ministry, right? That he calls a bunch of people, but mostly Jesus in his ministry is rejected. And so we're seeing right from the very beginning, instead of being embraced by society, where is he? He's rejected.
He's pushed to the outer.
Pushed to the outer. Pushed to those places.
Next best thing that's
pushed to those places that are uncomfortable. Placed to those places that could even be dirty. Right. So, what's our question for today, Joel?
So, a question we want to ask you all is: how do we make room for Jesus in Advent?
Good question. There was no room in the inn. How do we make room for Jesus as we prepare for Christmas?
All
right. We'll see you tomorrow.
Catch you tomorrow.